discuss the approach of the case study that we are going to discuss in the class, and then we will get into the analysis, actual analysis part. So what is this data about? And what do you think? Is this kind of a real data? And we would also be, if an analyst is there or analytics team is there, they would also be facing this kind of data in real life. Yes. Did you go through the case or the data set, or then because I wanted to
Yes,
save
sir.
time. Okay,
Yes,
because
sir.
I wanted to
Yes.
save time, I had also sent an explanation as well as an example of what is the use of that pipe operator. Right. So what is this case study about?
The case study is about the online retail sale
Mm-hmm.
where the data of different purchases given for the
Mm-hmm.
respective ID at
Mm-hmm.
different time frame, and in the time frame they have mentioned clearly date and the
Mm-hmm.
exact timing also.
Right. So this
So
is a
based on these all structure, we have
huh.
to come up with the RFM analysis.
Right. Right. So this is like a transactional data. The moment now, and this kind of data is generated in almost every industry or sector, right? In this context, this is a retail data. Let us say for telecom, the moment you do some transaction or you make payment or you lodge a complaint, right? Something like that. Immediately you have an invoice, you have the transaction date, you have the transaction value, you have what price the customer is paying, right? So this is retail data, but similar kind of data will get generated in the context of telecom. Similar kind of data will get generated uh, in the. Can you switch off your mic, Ajay?
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Similar. Let us say if you are using a credit card, or and you are making payment through your credit card, exactly similar kind of data gets generated in the as a customer. This data gets stored in the bank's data warehouse, right? So credit card transactions, similar kind of data gets generated. um, let us say you are a dish TV customer, right? Similar kind of data gets generated. Let us say you are a hotel customer, similar kind of transactional data gets generated. Let us say you are some cruise customer, right? You have the sea cruises, you are customer of those businesses, similar kind of data gets generated. So the universality of this data is this kind of analysis is being done in almost every kind of business organization, right? So that is the importance of this data. Then you can do segmentation using this data. You can also do market basket analysis using this data. All right. So uh, let's look at the data.
So you sent 3 files.
हाँ हाँ, तो I'll explain. उसमें एक I
So
there was
actually,
some.
I created the environment, the project with by taking the first file, the first
Okay,
mail.
no issues. Pratik, you just need to do 3-4 additional steps, and you will be able to import the other data set, right?
Okay, sir.
Right. Okay. So I'm sharing the screen. You're seeing my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now this data
Yes,
set,
sir.
what is the unit of this data set? Yes. Is it at the level of customer or is it at the level of transaction?
Transaction, sir.
Right. So it is at the level of transaction and it is also at the level of a product. Right. So we know what is the unique transaction number, from where we can get that number in this column.
Invoice number.
Right.
Nahi.
So invoice, yes, invoice number. So if you look at this, right, so in this particular transaction number 536365, 7 products have been purchased. So the basket size of this particular transaction for customer ID 17850. Now let us say we know the transaction number, which is one transaction number is one unique number. For that particular transaction, we have 7 products. These 7 products, okay, and this is the quantity and this is the price, okay, and for a particular unique customer. Now let us say if I have to calculate the value of the basket or the bill that will be generated for this particular invoice, what will be, how will I calculate?
By adding the unit price of all the items in a similar invoice
So basically what you are
into
saying,
quantity.
right? So you will quantity into unit price, okay, 6 into 2.55, similarly plus 6 into 3.39, right? Similarly 8 into 2.75 will tell me the monetary value of that particular transaction, right? So this is how the monetary value of that particular transaction will be calculated. Now this is the date on which this particular transaction is being carried out, okay. Now let us assume rather than 2010, this is 2020, okay, this is 12/1/2020. Now we are analyzing this today. So how will I calculate the recency?
Sir, if the data same, then the time, sir. Data same, then the time, sir. Based on the time
We are
usually
only,
recently.
Manish, we want to only look at the day and not the time for calculating the recency. Recency matlab, see, kitna time ho gaya for that customer. Let us say there is a central customer. We are doing analysis today. That is on 28/12/2020. Right? Let us say this customer A, okay, visited Central on 1/12/2020. What would be the recency? If I have to calculate in numeric numbers, the difference between last visited,
27.
right, and the day of analysis or whatever the reference date could be. So this would be 27 days. This is how I will calculate recency. Now let us say rather than 12, this becomes 11. So I add additional 30 days. If this is 10, I add additional 30 days, right? So I take this
Yes, sir.
difference. So this is how I will calculate the recency. Now, how will I calculate the frequency of transaction? Yes. Now, this frequency of transaction would be at the transaction level, would be at the product level, or will it be at the customer level?
Product level, sir. Product level, sir. Means depending upon particular customer, how many times he is buying the same thing.
So then will it be, so you're talking about product frequency or customer's frequency?
Sir, product frequency, sir.
We are talking about frequency of purchase from the
Then
customer's point of view. Yes. So what I have done here, I have selected one customer ID. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. This is the customer ID I have selected. Okay. Now, how many invoice numbers I have here?
7.
7. So what is the frequency of transaction for customer ID number 1, 2, 3, 4, 7?
7.
Right. So this will be the frequency. So if you look at this, maximum date and minimum date in this column E, this data is for 1 year, almost a year data. Okay. Which means this particular customer 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 is doing 7 transactions in a year. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. This is what we are going to analyze. We are going to analyze the recency. We are going to analyze the frequency of the customer, that is customer ID wise, and we are going to analyze the monetary value of the transaction. So average monetary value of the customer, frequency of transaction of that customer, and recency of transaction of that customer. Now let us say, rather than this 1 year data, we have 10-year data, and we know customer A, right, for the last 10 years annually visits this particular store 7 times. Right. Now come 2011, okay, for 7 to 8 months this particular customer has not visited this store, right? So the system throws a query, right, or an output. Okay, this customer is likely to churn, right? He was visiting this particular store in a year for 7 times, and this year in last 6 months this customer has not visited us, right? So this customer is likely to churn, right? Based on, so they identify similar groups of customers, they create a segment and they send an offer. Okay, visit our retail store and get a 500 cashback, get 20% discount, get 1000 discount. So third aspect is your retention offer, or you want to increase the frequency, or you want to ensure the customer is becoming dormant. So you are inviting that customer by giving an offer. Okay, come to our retail store. This is what happens in practice. This is the entire mechanism behind this particular data and analyzing similar kind of data. Now, Mudit is there. Mudit? All right. Anyway, now, if you look at this data, I'm looking at the quantity data. What does this imply? some values in the quantity column.
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
Negative
Right. So
value
can,
and the
yeah,
positive value. Negative value is the return value.
right. So uh, can quantity be negative?
Yes, sir.
Quantity can be negative.
Say the yes, sir. Means if he is returned the goods, then they shown the negative for that particular
Yeah.
good.
So that is the assumption we are making, right? If
Yes, sir.
so, and actually it should become zero rather than negative then, right? So you have one transaction in which the purchase has been made, and you have another transaction in which the return has been made. Okay. So for as of now, we will not make that assumption. We are only interested in looking at the actual purchases, that actual purchase data. All right. So what we will do, probably we will drop these values because we don't know what's these values, and we have we'll do that analysis. We have large number of data set. So in that case, it is a good idea, these negative values, if we have clarity on this. Okay, yes, of course this is a return value, uh, but in that case what I will do, I will separate these negative values, which means I will do a separate analysis of return data. So, and I will create segments for those customers who are returning the product that they have purchased, right? So we are more interested in customer making purchase. We are more interested in how we can increase their frequency. We are more interested in how we can increase their monetary value, or how we ensure that they come again and again to this particular retail store, right? So we drop, the good idea is to drop this value, then look at this
Sir,
column. Yes.
sir, but if a customer is returning a product, then the monetary value which he is contributing should be would reduce, right?
Yes.
So, sir, shouldn't we consider the negative quantity also?
See, what I am trying to tell is we are looking at the purchases, right? Whether the customer is coming or not, right? And if that particular customer has returned that particular product, okay, in that case, from our analysis, we should remove the entire transaction. See, we are
Okay.
looking at the purchase data. We are not looking at the return data. Okay. And if I were to analyze the return data, I will analyze it separately. What is my purpose
So
here?
can't we combine it, like taking the whole quantity which we have sold him minus the quantity which he or she has returned to us?
Yeah, so that we can do. See, what is the purpose? Why we are doing this analysis? If it is about market basket analysis, if it is about, let us say, analyzing the product purchase data, we definitely should do that analysis. What we are doing, we are trying to create segments, okay, based on recency, based on frequency, and their monetary value of actual purchases. We are not interested in later on what has happened, whether they have returned, whether there was some kind of a product defect, what was the reason for their return. We don't have this data, right? And if I were to analyze this data, I will separate these negative values. If I am sure that this is a return data, I will separate this value and create segments for those customers. That is one way to handle. But I don't know what's happening. So best way is to drop these values, quantity value, okay, and see this 80,995. So that particular customer has purchased 80,995 items of that particular product for that particular transaction.
Yes, sir.
Does that sound logical?
No, sir.
right? So similarly, 7,400 and 74,000, 9,600, right? So in that case, we will drop these values. Then look at the unit price, right? So we have one negative value here, okay, and then we have zero value, right? So this again, we will drop this from our data. Is that fine to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Right?
sir. Zero and negative, right?
Yeah, zero and negative. All right. So what I have done, this can be done in R also, but because it would have taken a lot of time. So I had shared this cleaned data with you all, this deleted negative price quantity Excel sheet. So you download this Excel sheet and import that Excel sheet into R, right? So just quickly do it.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, is there a code to delete that from in by directly deleting that
Yes,
data?
yes, 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 yes. It is there. I will share that code. But it requires significant explanation and pre-processing. And it would have taken at least 30 minutes to 90 minutes for me to explain all those steps, but that it is there. If you want, I will share that code with you,
Okay, sir. Okay,
right?
sir.
So you are importing the data, everyone. This Excel sheet which I have mailed, deleted negative price
Yes, sir.
quantity, just import that data.
Yes, sir.
Post in the chat box how many of you are importing that data or have already imported the data. Aman Patel. Aman, हो क्या online? Okay. I am again repeating this. If you understand these three projects that we have done, okay, and you can utilize the code, reuse the code in another context. Let us, if I give another data and I ask you, please build a machine learning model for this data, and you follow the same exact step which we did in the class. अगर आप ये करते हो, right? If I am a recruiter, right, I will at least offer 10 to 15 lakhs per annum as a package for that particular student who is able to do all these three projects, understand all these three projects. And I tell this already, right? I do have a lot of friends who and my previous students from NIBM who are working in Deloitte, KPMG, right? And I've already spoken about from the class about 6 to 7 students, right, who are doing this continuously um, about this particular project. So if you are doing this and if you can do this, and if you need any kind of help in your placement, in your interviews, provided you know these three projects and you can explain each and every step, each and every code. I don't expect you guys to remember the code, but you should be able to explain what is this code about, and you should be able to explain what is the output. Okay, so let's move. So what after you have
Sir,
yes.
I have
Yes.
imported two files,
Huh.
that deleted and one online retail.
Huh.
I have to like import that data file?
Huh. Did you import the deleted file, deleted price quantity file which I had mailed?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
हाँ, so only that file you will work. It is okay.
Okay.
अगर वो आपने दूसरा वाला भी किया होगा ना, so it is fine. But
Okay.
ये आप, so you will use this file, okay? Then quickly view that file using VIEW command, view that file and just see whether you have got all these
Yes.
columns, right?
It's showing warning, but it has shown all the columns.
Yes, yes, right? So this is the command, okay? So then assign this to data set. You are just renaming it, okay? So you assign that to the data set. We are just renaming it. Then run this command str data set. Run this command summary. This will be small data set and tell me the output. Yes.
Yes, sir. Done.
Yes, Prabhat. So tell me the output.
Sir, for STR, it is showing, sir, which are number and which are character.
So how many observations we have and how many variables we have?
Okay, sir. Uh, Variables we have
Sir,
is
8 variable and
Yeah.
5 free.
Yeah. Let Prabhat speak. We have 8 variables.
yes, sir.
Okay.
And
How
total
many
number
observations?
530104.
530104.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is now the variable type. Invoice
Uh,
number.
so it is numeric. Numeric.
Invoice number numeric. Then
Stock code.
stock code.
Character.
Character. Will we
Then
be interested in this column at this stage
no, sir.
for doing RFM
No,
analysis?
sir.
No,
No,
right?
sir.
Stock code character, then
Description.
description,
It is also character.
character. Will we be interested in this variable for doing RFM analysis?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, right? Then
Quantity.
quantity,
Numeric.
numeric. Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then next,
Invoice date.
invoice date. What is the data type?
So it is showing format something.
POSIX. I also find it slightly difficult to
POSIX
pronounce.
set.
Huh?
POSIX set.
POSIX set. Let us say POSIX set. Now, this particular data type, something on this line, right? Okay, this stores the data in the form of month, date, year, hour, okay, and then minute. Right? And this also stores the time zone. Now, in this particular data set, are we interested in the time, hours and minutes?
No, sir.
Are we interested in time zone?
No, sir.
Right. So
No,
we are
sir.
more interested in the date. Okay.
Yes.
And the date data in R, okay, is handled, right? So we need to convert this data just the way we convert a factor into using as dot factor. Okay. Later on, we will convert this column in using as dot date command. Okay, so this command we will use just the way we use as dot factor, and this as dot factor we will tell, give an input. So we will have two dates. We will have the reference date or transaction. We will have transaction date and we will have the reference date. We will be taking a difference of this, and this we want the number to be considered as numeric. So this is the command we will give. Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
So yeah, now let's quickly do some descriptive analysis with regards to let us say quantity, price, and missing value. Okay, so let's use this command. Let us say we will use this command for the entire data set, summary data set, and tell me the output. Tell me any abnormality that you observe in this data set. I will copy the code as well for people who are not. ये negative value.
Sir, invoice date.
Huh?
Sir, invoice date and
Missing
customer
values.
ID,
There are
like they
missing
have
values.
different NA values.
Okay, NA values in which variable?
So invoice
Invoice
date, customer ID, and invoice number also have one
Invoice
missing.
number.
Okay, just wait. I'll just run my code. Yes. So first tell me the NA values. Yes. So you have NAs in invoice date. You also have NAs in customer ID. Yes. So what to do with this?
Sir, for customer ID, we cannot replace it with the mean value. So we have to replace it with the zero or either to drop it.
Right. So see, actually, though in lot of references, this has been mentioned as a online retail store. Okay, but this is not an online retail store. This is actually a physical retail store. If you look at, I will share you the research paper which was originally written by these authors. Okay, and that is why we have missing values with respect to customer ID. Do you think in online, for an online retail, or for that matter any online business, customer ID would have missing values?
No, sir.
Invoice date will have missing values,
No, sir.
right? So because whenever you punch a card, right, if you are an existing customer, it will punch your existing customer ID. If you are a new customer, it will create a new customer ID. And same is the case with invoice date. The moment you transact, the moment you pay bill, right, and today's online environment, it generates a unique invoice date, right? So that is the reason why I told you, right? You can make any assumptions with respect to those negative values or these NA values, but it is a good idea, right? Because we don't want to distort our results, it is a good idea that we drop these NA values. Do you agree? The class agrees with this? Yes. हाँ जी.
Sir, we'll be dropping all rows, all which have any values. Like that.
Yes, yes.
Sir, rather than dropping all the rows, can't we drop only NA values of the customer ID only and keeping in NA values of the invoice date?
So, but see, Pratik, I want to, so what to do with these invoice date?
Sir,
See, it
because
will,
I'm saying, you see, we need to know our customer, right?
yes.
Okay, so if we drop the, as we don't have customer ID, so there is no point on keeping them in the list.
Hmm,
Correct.
hmm, hmm,
Because those transactions are not any use to us. But if we don't have the invoice date for a particular customer,
hmm,
or although we can't find the recency of that customer,
hmm.
but we can find the frequency as well as the monetary value of that customer.
So now can we do cluster analysis if the R value is missing? Then in that case, either we have to impute that R value, okay,
Yes,
or
sir. Sir, we
the
can.
option is, see,
Yes, sir.
I am telling nothing is right and wrong, right? We can very well do that, but we are not sure of the accuracy of the data, whether that data is good or not. And see, the simple logic is garbage in, garbage out. If your data is not clean, if your data is not appropriate, you will get wrong results. Okay. Now, if that's what I tried to point out, if in today's world, if we are talking about invoice date and customer ID, this will never be a missing value. Okay. If it is an online, even if it's a physical business, right? The moment a bill is generated, a proper bill is, if the bill is not generated, then we don't have customer ID and we don't have invoice date as well. Okay. And provided they have a mechanism to capture a unique identifiers of the customer, right? When we visit Decathlon, the first that they ask is our mobile number to generate bill. If we don't give our mobile number, we cannot make a purchase. So that mobile number is the unique identifier to create customer ID, right? So if you don't have that data, it's good idea to drop those values. Now let us say
Sir,
if you
can't we?
don't want
Sir,
to drop that value, if you don't want to drop that value, yes, of course we can impute mean and impute that value and get the
sir,
results. Then
sir, can't we
yes.
find the frequency and monetary value first by
Hmm.
keeping all the customer data and then drop the customers with the NA invoice,
Hmm.
NA values in the invoice date, and then find the recency of that customer?
How you are telling? How will you find? How will we find recency?
Sir, I'm saying, you see, first we can find the frequency and monetary value by keeping all the customer, except the NA values, customer with the
Hmm.
NA values. Okay,
Hmm.
because in that case, we won't require the invoice date for both
Hmm.
frequency and monetary value.
Hmm.
Correct.
Hmm. Hmm.
But at the time of calculating the recency, we can drop the invoice, the customers with NAs in the invoice date and then find their recency. I'm saying that.
Come again, can you repeat how you are saying you are going to find out the recency?
So recency by after finding frequency and monetary value, I'm saying we can calculate the recency
How?
by dropping the customer with NAs in invoice date.
Pratik, but that will be create an error sort of thing. Like we
No, you see, I'm saying
cannot
we are
access
using
that.
the no. Hello, I'm saying, you see, we won't
बोल
need
बोल.
invoice jet while we calculate frequency and monetary, correct?
Pratik.
But you have to assign certain customer ID to that. If you are not going to assign it, how we are going to justify
No,
that this
I'm saying
customer?
we are removing the customer with any customer ID. I'm not talking about the customer with any IDs.
So
I'm saying
the sir is also saying the
entries
same
with
thing.
invoice NS.
See, Pratik, the only way to handle that NS in your invoice date is you calculate the recency data, you calculate the mean of the recency data, and you input that mean into that recency data. That is
Sir,
the only way to handle that.
sir,
Otherwise,
I'm
there
saying,
is no other way,
sir,
right?
do we
But
need sir, do we
accuracy will
need
be dropped,
invoice
sir.
jet in our frequency and monetary value while
Yes,
calculating?
yes, yes, yes. उसीलिए तो हम ड्रॉप कर रहे हैं ना वो सी हम वो इनवॉइस डेट चाहिए लेट अस से 60 डेज पहले वो इनवॉइस जनरेट हुआ है एंड लेट अस से वी आर कैलकुलेटिंग द रिसेंसी फ्रॉम टुडेज रेफरेंस
सर
पॉइंट
नहीं, रिसेंसी नहीं सर, रिसेंसी छोड़ के फ्रीक्वेंसी और मॉनेटरी बस.
भाई प्रतीक, आई थिंक तुमको आरएफ में एनालिसिस करना है. इसमें तीनों चीज लगेगी. इसमें आर एफ है, और
यस
अगर तुम कोई एक ड्रॉप करोगे तो तुम बाकी दो
नहीं, you
प्रतीक
see,
सुनो
क्रिएट कर
प्रतीक
लोगे.
प्रतीक
फर्स्ट को
प्रतीक
तुम ड्रॉप
प्रतीक
करोगे तो कैसे
हाँ
मैनेज कर
सर,
पाओगे?
लेट्स अग्री टू डिसअग्री. ओके, ठीक है. प्रतीक, इफ यू वांट टू डू दिस एनालिसिस, ओके, without dropping the NAs from the invoice date, okay, we can very well do that. And so now for this class we will drop that NA, okay,
okay
but
sir.
right,
Sir, one question.
wait, so then uh, आप भी करोगे ये, right? I will also do it, and then we will compare the results without dropping NA and with dropping NA. Is that fine to you?
Yes sir. Sir, actually
Okay.
question.
Yes.
सर, हम जो आरएफएम एनालिसिस कर रहे हैं वो एक साथ ही आउटपुट आएगा क्या आरएफएम का पूरा?
लेट देखते हैं ना हम लोग क्या हो रहा है.
सर
लेट्स
नहीं
गो स्टेप
मतलब
बाय स्टेप.
सर, आई वाज लाइक, आई थॉट कि हम पहले रिसेंसी कैलकुलेट करेंगे पूरे डेटा का, फिर फ्रीक्वेंसी कस्टमर्स का, फिर मॉनेटरी वैल्यू हर कस्टमर का, उस हिसाब से मुझे लगा.
वैसा भी कर सकते हैं, एक साथ भी कर सकते हैं, राइट? सी, एवरीथिंग इज पॉसिबल इन आर. आई एम श्योर यू अंडरस्टैंड दिस.
ओके सर, ओके सर.
Right? Okay. Now, I had sent one R script file with regards to the pipe operator. किसी ने जहमत की उसको खोल करके पढ़ने की और उसमें के कोड रन करने की. And if you can explain to me.
सर कोड तो रन नहीं किया, पढ़ा था.
हाँ. So what did you read?
Sir, basically,
it's a chain command.
Yes, one at a time. Gautam, you want to come in, please?
Sir, it's a chain command. So instead of doing multiple operations and assigning different data set, different names in each step, we can do a string of operations in one go using the pipe command.
Right, so it's that pipe operator is like a right, when you are building a chain, the joining of the chain is with the help of the pipe operator. Basically, we are using an analogy, right? So, and the other way to read that is like then, right? So if you, the moment that pipe operator appears, you read it as then. So you are, if you are doing a series of operations, right? One way is to assign unique variable for each step of the operation, or the other alternative is to create a chain and it gives you the final value. Okay, so we will quickly run this command. So let us say this is our vector, which means a column in a data frame. Now just because I don't want to spend too much time on this, I will copy this command, create a separate R script in the same project here by using this, and create additional R script here and copy those commands and run all the commands at one go, and then I'll quickly explain. Please do this. All right, should I move? आपने रन किया कमांड वो सारे, then I'll quickly explain.
Yes,
right, this is a vector. We have learned about this, and in a data frame it is like a column, any column. Now let us say for this vector x in which these values are stored, we would like to calculate the log. Then take the exponential of that, and then we want to round that value. Okay, so we calculate log x and assign it to value y. That value also. So these are the values of log x which is stored in y. Then we would like to calculate the exponential of y, and then we store it in z. Okay, so these are the values. Basically we are doing the reverse operation. Then we would like to round this value. So we are using round command. And we are getting, okay, so these numbers have been rounded off. Now these three steps, let us say we have to do at one go. And we don't want to create these variables y, z, and a, right? So this is one way to do these three operations. The second alternative is you create a nested, right, loop within loop. So you first calculate log x, sorry. You first calculate log x, then you are calculating the exponential, and then you are rounding off. This will also give you the same output. See this? Okay. Now see, sometimes what happens, when you add more and more brackets, okay, it sometimes confuses you, and if you have made some mistake and error, right, it becomes slightly difficult to see where you have made that error. Okay, so the alternative for that is using use of this pipe operator. Now this pipe operator, okay, this pipe operator is part of the dplyr package in R, which is nothing but it is like a chain. So rather than writing a command like this, what you do, you write after each set. So this is x. Okay, so what you are doing, calculate the log of x. Then you are saying calculate the exponential of x, and then you are saying round the value. Okay, so this how we are reading. We are reading this pipe operator as then. First do this, then do this, then do this, and then do this. So I hope there is a clarity on the use of pipe operator and what is a pipe operator. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Sir.
Right? Okay. Now another function that we are going to use as part of the DPLYR package, right? There are four, 5 different functions: mutate, select, filter, summarize, arrange, and group by. We are going to use mutate function, we are going to use summarize function, we are also going to use group by function. I'll explain that, right? But let us say there is one more line of code that I have shared, okay, about mutate function. Okay, let us say we have 3 vectors. I have copied this. You just copy and run this command: name, age, and gender. So I have these 3 vectors. What I am doing, I am creating a data frame from this vector, and I am naming that data frame as demo. So I am running this command. Okay, I am creating the data frame. We have done this, and let's look at the data. So this is the data: name, age, and gender. Okay, now let us assume, now rather than assume, right, we would like to multiply this age column with any number. Let us say we want to take twice the age. Okay, now for that we can use the mutate command in the DPLYR package. Okay, so let us say you can save if you are doing any additional operation. Okay, if you are doing any additional operation, you can save that column in the same data frame demo, or you can create an additional data frame also, right? So let us assume we want to create an additional column of age and a product, so and multiply that age with 2. Okay, so what we are doing, this is the data frame. Again, we are doing our calculation on this same data frame. What we are doing then, mutate, okay, which means the definition of mutate, it adds new variables that are a function of existing variable, right? Basically variable transformation is what you are doing, right? Let us say you have an income data here and you would like to perform logarithm of that income data, and you would like to also preserve the income data. So what you do, here you have demo, then mutate, you create an additional column named income, and rather than age into 2 you have log of income. So this will create you additional column. Now we are doing a product of age here and we are giving the name as age, right? This is capital A, different name. So I will run this command. Okay, and let's look at the data frame now. And tell me what has happened.
We have a new column.
Right, we have a new column, okay, which is a product which is multiplied by 2 of this column. So 1 into 2, 2 into 4, 3 into 6, 4 into 8, and so on and so forth. Right? So using mutate function, you can transform your existing data and create a new column or a new vector in the data frame. Is that clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Right? So now let's recode or change the, नहीं पहले हमको we want to drop the NA value. Okay, so we have data set, then data set, your pipe operator. Okay, you are saying then the command for dropping the NA value, entire NA value from your data set is drop underscore NA bracket. You run the command and again check str data set, summary data set, and tell me whether the NA values have been dropped from the data set or not. If you are getting an error, drop NA function is not available, right? Or it is unknown, then this drop NA function is part of this tidyr package. So you install that package, run this library command, and then run this command drop dataset, then which is the pipe operator, drop underscore NA. So this will drop all the NA values from your dataset. Run the command, then run str and view dataset. Tell me what output you are getting.
Sir, I'm getting an error. Sir,
so what is the error?
there is no package for the tidyr, and similarly, so there is no such pipe operator.
So did you, so if you are getting there is no pipe operator, install dplyr package. Manish.
Okay, sir.
And then install then library dplyr. Okay. And
Okay,
this drop NA function is part of tidyr. So I have posted that tidyr package. Install, run library tidyr, and then run this command.
okay, sir.
Sir, NA value has been dropped.
NA value has been dropped?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So next is we would like to change the data type, right? One way is individually change the data type, which we had done in the first and second project. Okay. And the another way is to use the same command which we are using, mutate, okay, which I have explained. Okay. So then what we are doing, we are, let us say data set, give some new name so that we have the earlier data also. I'm using dataset recode. You can give whatever name you would like to give, right? Dataset, then your pipe operator. So you are interested in the invoice date. This is the name. Okay. And then as dot factor, invoice date. Now, what is the the usage of operator? Okay, what you have done? Look into this data set. Look for this particular variable and convert this variable into a factor. Okay, this is what you are trying to do. Now, if you are not using this pipe operator, what you have to do, let us say data set dollar invoice date, then you use as dot factor, and then again, so data set dollar invoice date, and you do this for all the other variables. Similarly, and for next variable you just add a comma and you change the data type. Okay, so we will use invoice number, then invoice date. So you add comma, you add invoice date. Now you want to only look at the date. The command for that is as dot date within bracket invoice date, and then you have to give the format also. You can, and the format for that is %m, which is month, %day. I mean, I don't know how they read it, but D, and then your year. If you want, you can include hours and months also, but this command will not read this value. So you change for invoice date, then your customer ID. Again, you can change it to as dot factor. So other variables, you're fine with that. Okay. Because they have been identified, let us say quantity, it is identified as numeric, we don't have to change. Price, it has been identified as numeric, so we don't have to change. The other variables, if you want, let us say country code or stock code, you can do that, right? But as we have discussed, we are interested in these columns: the price, the quantity, the invoice date, and customer ID. If you want to add other variables, let us say you are doing segmentation and then you also plan to do market basket analysis on the same data set. So then you do this for the all the other variables. Okay, and I'm copying the command. If you have any questions, please do let me know. Type, if you can type the command, but though this takes a lot of time. You can search for this online and it will give you details about how various data formats get stored. Okay. See, if
Sir, we are creating,
yes,
sir, we are creating data set record, right? And then we are doing all the changes, all these changes.
Yes, yes. So just look at this. Just view, after running the command, view the data set record.
There is a change in the invoice date.
right? So it has changed the format. Right?
सर ये डेटा एंट्री के वक्त अगर कोई स्पेसेस वगैरह आ जाती होगी एंट्री में तो उससे भी एरर आता होगा ना?
यस यस यस, बट सी ये जो है ना, ये इट इज नॉट मैनुअल एंट्री. सी द सिस्टम विल जनरेट दिस डेटा. सी अगर फिजिकल रिटेल स्टोर है और आप हाथ से लिख रहे हो फिर तो एरर तो आना ही है. बट इन टुडेज लाइफ वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट सिस्टम जनरेटेड एंट्रीज. Okay, just quickly look at the quantity and the unit price. So quantity, you have minimum value of 1 and you have maximum value of 80,995. Now look at this again, maximum quantity, right? What could be the possible reason for this huge variation? Yes. So quickly batao, we have, this is 19th session, na? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, can we meet, can we do one additional session? Probably tomorrow or even today also. See, I would like to complete this entire case.
Sir, actually, today we have other classes. Hello, sir.
Till what time?
Sir,
till
we
6.
have other classes.
Till what time? Till 6.
Till 6, sir.
Can we meet after that? Can we do some either tomorrow, day after tomorrow, right? And the last class would be on which date?
Sir,
on 1st. 31st, Thursday, na?
Yes, sir.
31st ko. So that will be your project presentation. But before that, I would like to meet for one more class.
Sir, we will let you know, sir, after discussion among ourselves.
Okay, ठीक है. So where was I? Now see this again. Just tell me what could be the reason for this huge range of quantity as well as price. Price तो ठीक है, quantity. Do you think this data has both B2B and B2C customers?
Yes, sir,
Yes, so
definitely.
someone has brought in bulk.
Might be.
Yes. Okay. So this data contains both B2B as well as B2C data set. Okay. Now we don't know who are the B2B customers and who are the B2C customers. So we will still go ahead and do our analysis. But if I know, okay, there are B2B customers and there are B2C customers, I will separate these two data sets. Are you getting my point? Because for B2B customers, the quantity and monetary value will be very high. And for B2C customers, the quantity and the monetary value would be low. They would be completely different. It would be a very stark difference, and that would bring distortion in my data as well. That will bring distortion in the distribution of the data as well. Okay, and you are not doing analysis for apple and apple. You are doing analysis for apple and oranges, right? So I hope there is an appreciation of this.
Yes, sir.
Right. So let's move on. Then we need to calculate just like this. We calculated age. Now we need to calculate the monetary value of one particular transaction. So that will be the product of the price and the quantity. Okay, and we can use the mutate function here. The same thing here, dataset recode. We use this. The same command here. We will use mutate function and we will give some name here. Let us say total value or monetary value. I have given what? Total dollars. Okay. This would be, from this, I will look at the quantity. And then multiply it by unit price. If I run this command, this will create me an additional variable in this data set here, which is a product of quantity and unit price. That will give me the monetary value or the bill amount for that particular transaction. Right? So run this command and see whether you are getting that output or not. I'm copying that command. और बताइए क्या हो रहा है? Yes.
There is a additional column named total underscore dollar.
Right. So
Which
that is what
both the quantity
this
and
is
unit
what
price.
yeah, this is what we wanted to do. So I'm viewing that data set code, right? And see this, an additional column has been created here, which talks about the bill value or the monetary value for this particular. So this will not be bill actually, right? This will be just the unit price and quantity. Now, when you add all these value, 536365, this is invoice number, and 7 products have been purchased. So if you add these 7 numbers, that will be actually the bill value. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. So let's try to do that. Now the next thing that we would like to do is we want the data we want to organize the data at the customer ID, which means 17850. So you have 17850 as your customer ID. Okay. Now, then you would like to know for this particular customer, what was the frequency? यहाँ तक है, right? 17850. And there will be other numbers as well. Let us say, look at this data set 17850. So what we are trying to do for this particular 17850, now what we will do, we will group the entire data set based on unique customer ID. Okay, so we have data set recode, we use pipe operator, and we would like to group this data set using a group by function. Let us say if we group the entire data set based on this customer ID, will the number of rows reduce or will the number of rows increase?
Sir, reduce.
Why?
So we are reducing the number of suppose there are 7 rows of 17850. If we will group them, sir, it will become 1.
Right. Basically what we are doing, one particular customer has done 10 transactions. Okay, so at this stage there will be 10 rows because the data is based on transactions and not customer ID. Now what we are doing, rather than based on transaction, we are converting this data based on customer IDs, right? So this will reduce the number of observations when we use the group by function. Okay, then you group by and then you calculate what you calculate. You calculate the recency, okay, invoice date minus the reference date. Now in this reference date, okay, you will take the maximum value date in your data set. Okay, I'll just after dropping all the NA values, we look at the summary of the data set. What is the maximum invoice date and what is the minimum invoice date in this data set? Yes.
Sir, minimum is 2010 first month 12th day.
Yes. Okay, and what is the maximum?
So 2011 last month day is 10.
Right. So basically this is the period of analysis. Okay, and let us say we are doing this analysis on this particular date. Okay, and so this was the minimum. So the maximum value of recency would be a difference of this and this. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and from this data set, for each of this date, we will subtract this date, which means that we will calculate the number of days. Okay, this minus this, this minus this, this minus this will give me the recency value. Okay, then the calculation of the frequency, again based on customer ID, you have invoice number, the unique addition of unique invoice numbers. When I'm not saying numerically add these numbers, you have one invoice number 536365, that is 1. Then you have 66, that will become 2. Then you have 67. Yes, using that group by function. Yes. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that will give you the frequency number. So there is a second column in your data set. The third is you would like to calculate the average monetary value for each customer. Okay, which means, as I said, you will total this based on customer ID, okay, and then you divide it by frequency. That will give you the average monetary value of transaction for a particular customer. These three values you will take, and that will create the three columns for you in that particular data set for you. Okay, I will post that code here, and then again further explanation in the next class. You tell see, I would prefer doing this either today or tomorrow.
Sir,
Yes,
we can do after 6:30, sir.
we can do after 6:30. Sure. Right, so today
Today
6:30.
sir.
Yes, that should be
Yes,
fine.
sir.
Right. So probably additional 1 hour to 90 minutes is what I will take to complete this analysis.
Sir,
right, so we will, yes.
Does the attendance will count?
Attendance, we'll see. I will take the attendance, but उसको कैसा करना है तो वो देखा जाएगा.
Okay, sir.
Right. Okay. Right. So see, you run this command. If you have any questions with respect to this command, I will answer in the next class. And then इसके बाद आपने क्या करना है? You will have three columns. You will have frequency column, you will have monetary value column, and then you will have recency, frequency, and monetary value, and you will also have customer ID. So these four columns will be there in the new data frame. Then you will do descriptive analysis. Take the summary of frequency, summary of monetary value, summary of your recency, frequency, and monetary value. Then look at their mean, standard deviation, and all those things. Then you also plot the histogram, right? The monetary value will be highly skewed. In that case, you can use logarithmic function to smoothen the distribution. So these are the things we will do initially, and then we will do k-means clustering, apply the algorithm, create segments, and look at the average values of each of the segments, and we'll discuss how marketers interpret this value. Okay, so we'll stop here.
Okay, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Gautam.
Sir, I just wanted to confirm that you marked me present.
Gautam, I have marked you present. I'm checking,
Okay,
but I have
thanks.
marked you present.
Sir, is there any package for the RFM analysis like we did for classification problem?
Just wait, Manish. Yes. Yeah. Yes, Manish. Manish?
So I'm saying that is there any? Yes, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Sir,
I can hear you, Manish.
Is there any package that we can use for RFM analysis directly? We have to do these all processes.
Manish, not that I know of. Probably it would be there. You can search, but I'll tell you, explain you the. Let us say RFM का package है. Let us assume. Let us say I build you and I want to build that package. Okay. So वो package के अंदर behind में formula क्या रहेगा पीछे? Manish. Behind at the back end, all these formulas will be given to that.
Yes, sir.
And you give this as an input and you name that package as RFM, which means ये जो सारा data cleaning, data processing, dropping the values, grouping by, at one go that particular package will do, and calculate RFM value for you.
Yes, sir.
I hope
Sir,
yes.
yes, sir. We use the IBM SPSS software. So in that we have to just put the data, and after selecting the process, it automatically gives the whatever the score we that assigned to particular customer ID.
Yes, yes. So that's also possible. But see, you have to ask this question: how these things are implemented. Okay, right earlier what was happening? आप analyze करते थे, वो एक standalone practice रहती थी, and then how you implemented, you don't know. Now, nowadays what is happening? See, there are series of modeling steps. Okay. There is one customer churn model, there is cross sell model, there is RFM model, and it is sequential. And at each step there is a flag, and at each step there is an offer. Okay, and you try to implement that. So all these implementations generally are happening either in R or Python, or it could be IBM Watson, the advanced version of IBM SPSS. Okay, or it could be
Okay,
SAS,
sir.
and the advanced SAS Enterprise Minor. Okay, IBM Watson's equivalent is SAS Enterprise Minor. So these are the four dominant globally tools or platforms that are being used. Okay, now how again, if you look at the proportion, probably Fortune 50, Fortune 100, or Fortune 500 organization, okay, to an extent use SAS and IBM Watson because they are very expensive software. And again, if you look at the analytics profile, analytics job role, maximum number of times they will be asking either R or Python as a skill, and very less number of organization would be asking for IBM SPSS or IBM Watson. Right, so that's the reason it is important that you
Yes, sir.
should learn these things here, right? But yes, of course I agree, SPSS does this calculation also.
Sir,
Yes.
for our project, we are doing the same. We are having the same data, and we are doing market basket analysis.
Okay.
So I ask you a question that, sir, how I can do the profitability analysis also? Sir,
So see, what do you mean by profitability? What is the definition?
sir, by in my definition, sir, that I use some code or something like that
No definition. No, you
enhance
don't
their
tell me
profit.
about code. Profit means revenue minus cost.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Right. Now you have revenue data. Right.
Yes, sir.
Do you have cost data?
No, sir.
So in that case, can you do profitability analysis?
No, sir.
Right. You need to have.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, can I come up with like whatever basket we have generated? So based on that basket, what we can offer, like the whatever the possible
See,
discount or the
you can assume margin on these products. Okay, that gives you the tentative cost. Okay, but what about employee cost? What about the rental cost, electricity cost, physical infrastructure, all those elements? Now, see, and that concept of costing assigned to each transaction comes from that ABC costing method. Okay, so you need to have that ABC data, activity based costing data, and
we
you
don't
use
have.
that activity based costing data to calculate the cost of each transaction. Okay, banks do that. Let us say for physical branch, uh, doing a transaction in physical branch is around average tentatively is around rupees 50. So they have come to that number using activity based costing. So then you need to have that number to include in your cost data, and then you can do your profitability analysis.
Okay, sir. So
But I can, so there is one case study and data that I have which talks about this in detail, and though they have not given this minute ABC data, but they have given the directly the customer profitability number. And that's also gives you an idea which segment is profitable, which segment is not profitable. So all those analysis.
okay, sir. So there is no such data in
No,
our data
not
set. So
yes, yes.
I'm restricting my project to
To
market
product
basket
recommendation.
only.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes,
sir.
yes, yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you, sir.
But so I hope you appreciate why we cannot do profitability analysis.
Yes, sir. I understood that.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. I'm closing the session.
Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Sure.
Yeah.